Okay, so just in the previous segment, we were talking a lot about PlayStation. We looked at the chart from Matt Piscatella that showed 6 of the top 10 selling games in Q2 were Microsoft titles. And we talked about the end of the generation, all that stuff. But I think really the main takeaway is that PlayStation has been pretty absent for a while. I mean, on that Q2 list, the only Sony game on that list was MLB The Show. The other 9 games were from Take-Two, Ubisoft, and Microsoft. Literally dominated by everybody else other than PlayStation, and that's on their own platform. So they've got a lot of studios in the works. We know that they're working on a bunch of stuff. Some of it more exciting than others. You know, big mysterious games from Naughty Dog. They're working on Intergalactic, but then they're also working on another game that very well could be a new Uncharted. We know that Sony Santa Monica's working on something. We know that Cory Barlog's working on something over there as well. We know that Insomniac is working on probably Wolverine. We know Fair Games. Fair Game $ is coming as well. So there's a bunch of big ones, the Horizon online game. But it's funny that we were talking about this at this time because IGN, the behemoths themselves, 19 million subscribers, booyakasha, they just put out a video recapping the state of every PlayStation Studio summer 2025 update. And I want to hear this because if they have actually done their homework and have some updates on what every studio is working on, I'm here for it because it's easy to forget and get them mixed up because we've had cancellations and all sorts of stuff. Like Bluepoint just had their game canceled. They were working on, like, I believe a God of War live service game, and Sony Bend also had their live service game canceled. So there's a lot of crap going on right now. But let's see.
We're over halfway through 2025 already, which means it's time to check in on all of Sony's PlayStation studios to see what they're making and what games are coming to your PS5 in the months and years to come. While the console has received some great exclusives in 2025, including the critically acclaimed Death Stranding 2, none of Sony's first-party studios have released a game this calendar year, aside from the annual inevitability that is MLB The Show. So surely that means plenty of PlayStation studios have games coming out soon, or at the very least have secrets up their sleeves, right? Well, that's exactly what...
Secrets being a fun word. Because Horizon has 2 big live service games coming probably in the next 18 months together. They've got the Guerrilla Games one, and then they have another one from NCSoft that was rumored to have been canceled, but then it later came out that the project that was canceled wasn't actually the Horizon game from NCSoft, so it looks like it actually is still in production. It's a whole thing. Marathon, of course, is coming as well. It's actually possible. Yeah, there's 2 of them. It's why it's so funny that there was that lawsuit filed the other day towards that Tencent Horizon ripoff, because the reporting and what was said in the lawsuit was that the executives from Tencent came to Sony asking basically, can we get this licensed as a Horizon game and just do Horizon in Asia? And we'll run it, you get a royalty from it, we'll just license it through the Horizon IP. And I think they built it as a Horizon game. And they were basically going to ask forgiveness before asking permission, you know? Like, we're going to ask forgiveness because we already made the game as a Horizon game, and they'll say yes, and then we'll just put the Horizon logo on it. Sony said no, however, because they already have 2 massive live service games in the works in the Horizon franchise, and I think they were worried that 3 would be too much. I would argue 2 might be too much. Dare I say 1, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
What we're going to take a look at here. What are the developers behind PlayStation's highly respected library up to now? And how long will it be before we get to both see and play their projects? So let's dig into what each studio is doing and when we can realistically expect to see new games from them.
Yeah! Fair Game $. Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog's attention is now firmly on Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, a spacefaring game with retro 80s vibes. After leaving the future of The Last of Us HBO show in the hands of Craig Mazin, studio head and creative director Neil Druckmann is now working full steam ahead with his team on the Uncharted studio's first new series since 2013.
Yes, Neil and Haley Gross, both of them have left the show, which we've talked about before. I don't think that's a good sign for the show when literally everybody who is involved in the original games is bailing right as like you would think the show would be picking up steam. They're bailing on it. Like maybe it is that they're just saying we want to focus on the game. Maybe that is legitimately all that it means, but I doubt it. I doubt it. You know, I think that season 3 is going to be a dumpster fire, but I'm here for it. Anyway.
Aside from a cinematic heavy trailer at last year's Game Awards, we've seen very little of this sci-fi story.
Tell me something good.
What we do know is that it follows Jordan A. Munn, a bounty hunter who gets stranded on a planet when on the trail of a criminal syndicate called the Five Aces. It's also rumoured to have a deeper combat system than any previous Naughty Dog game, with the reveal trailer giving us a tiny glimpse of its lightsaber-esque gameplay. Oh, and the music is being composed by Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. That's never not a good thing. Could this be Sony's big 2026 PS5 game? We can certainly hope, but we would love to see some gameplay before making such assumptions.
True. They've also made a bunch of offhand comments about how, like, Neil says, Elden Ring has been really inspiring to me. I love the idea of like asynchronous narratives and storytelling through the environments and through items, like not just through dialogue, which is typically how Naughty Dog does it. There were leaks about a year ago of people that were familiar with playtesters and developers on the project who said that it's basically The Last of Us Part 2 meets Elden Ring, and that it's going to blow people's minds. Time will tell. Time will tell. I'm intrigued. You know, I'm not one of these doom and gloomers that's like, oh, it looks terrible. Like, I don't think it looks terrible. I just think like the trailer gave us basically nothing to work with. I think as a trailer to announce a game, it was a bad trailer. I just think it wasn't particularly good. Didn't tell us like anything really. Like, I just don't think it was a great trailer. But historically, Naughty Dog gets better trailers as time goes on. I just want to see gameplay. I want to see what the game actually is. It's a new IP. We literally have no idea.
It would appear that this isn't the only iron Naughty Dog has in the fire, though.
I also think it's really funny that this game came out and people thought that it was I remember watching the live chat when they were revealing this, and there were people asking if this was like a story or a campaign for Concord. Because it has the same sort of like Guardians of the Galaxy, what is it, 80s retro punk flair. Like people thought, oh, is this the story mode for Concord? And then it's like, nope. That would have been funny though. But I don't know why. Like all of a sudden they have all of these games that are kind of reminiscent of each other. It's probably honestly because they watch Guardians of the Galaxy, eat that up, and are like, okay, let's do that. And then it takes 7 years to get a game out the door. So by the time you see it, it's like outdated. But anyway.
Druckmann teasing that the studio has a second unannounced game in development. Could this be The Last of Us Part 3? Uncharted 5? Something completely different? Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah, my prediction is that they are working on an Uncharted game. I think it's going to be with Nathan Drake's daughter. I think it's what we saw in that PlayStation commercial that we looked at on stream on Monday. We just did a segment on it. If you've not seen that stream clip, you should check it out. But I think that's what it is. It's probably smaller. It's probably more like Lost Legacy size. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing. I think we're going to get that. That's my prediction. Some people think it's just going to be like an Uncharted 3 remake or remake of the original trilogy or something. Maybe. I think it's going to be something new. That's my guess.
What's next?
Oh.
Santa Monica Studio released God of War Ragnarok to huge success in late 2022, and followed it up with the surprisingly lengthy 3 Valhalla DLC in December 2023. What's next for the studio remains a mystery, although we do know Cory Barlog, who led development on 2018's God of War, moved on to helm a new project in 2021 after leaving Eric Williams to fill Ragnarok's director seat. Little to nothing is known about that new project, but given it has been in development for a number of years already, it wouldn't be beyond unreasonable to expect to see it revealed this year.
And specifically, people familiar with the project keep saying that it is going quite well. I forget who reported on that. There was some reporter who was like, yeah, I spoke to people working on the project and they said it's going really well, which is kind of refreshing to hear. Like nowadays, You know, you expect you hear gaming news or something, and it's like, yep, a bear broke into the office and killed everybody, and then like it flooded, and then we all got gonorrhea at the same time. Like, you're just ready for something to be terrible and miserable across the board. So when you hear somebody be like, no, it's going well, it's really nice, honestly. It's quite nice. Schreier said they're working on a known IP, but not God of War. Ooh, you should send me, is that in his Blue Sky or something? I feel like I need to get a Blue Sky account just to follow some of these like gaming journalist guys, because they all deleted their X accounts and are only on Blue Sky. I feel like I need to follow that. If you have a link to that, you should send it to me on the Discord or something so we can see it. Reset era? Oh, when he was talking on Reset era? Okay.
As for a new God of War game, well, we likely can't expect that as quickly. Despite the gap between Ragnarok and its predecessor being only 4 years, the end of Kratos' Norse saga signals a new direction for the series, which naturally means it will require a lot more work from the ground up. We can hope, of course, but don't expect to see everyone's favourite angry dad anytime soon. That said, we wouldn't say no to a remake of the original trilogy.
I mean, I would take it. I'd take it. But I also think if it's a remake of the original trilogy, it would be a remake like probably in the same style and combat style as the new games. So it'd be totally, totally different. But I also think like there's a lot of things about the new game or about the old games that I'm not sure you could do nowadays. Like, you know, the Kratos mini game in the bedroom, you know, the one I'm talking about. I'm not sure if modern Sony would do that, you know, but it'd be interesting to see. Who knows?
Insomniac is arguably Sony's most prolific studio, having released either a Spider-Man or Ratchet & Clank game every couple of years for almost a decade now.
Yeah, dude.
Its most recent launch was in 2023 with the hugely successful Marvel Spider-Man 2, and so, based on pattern, you'd be forgiven for expecting a new Insomniac game in 2025. But in a worrying sign of the fragile state of the games industry, even a game of Spider-Man 2's magnitude couldn't prevent layoffs from occurring last year. That capped off what turned out to be a doubly damaging couple of months for the developer, following a huge data breach and subsequent theft. The data theft revealed that the studio's highly anticipated Wolverine game is not expected until 2026 at the earliest, but also that a Venom game may arrive before it. Either way, it's highly unlikely Insomniac will be springing any surprise games this year, and after all the studio has gone through recently, I think it's fair to allow it as much of a break as anyone.
Yeah, I mean, they are able to pump these games out so freaking fast. It's honestly unbelievable. It's like actually crazy. But yeah, they've just pumped through them like it's nothing. You're asking, was Spider-Man 2 successful? It sold very well. The problem was never whether Spider-Man 2 would sell well. The problem was that it was so freaking expensive to make that even though it sold really, really well, it didn't make as much money as you would think, you know? Like most games, if they hit 8 million copies sold, you're like, wow, you guys made a crap ton of money. And they're like, oh, well, it cost us so much to make, we made a little bit of money. Or even a good chunk of money, but we didn't make an ocean of money, you know? It's like our expenses were crazy high. It cost $300 million to make, dude. Like marketing, I think it is even more than that. Because I don't think that 300 million number counted marketing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the long-term, you know, trail of revenue was, but yeah, it was very expensive, which I think is why some people assume that it wasn't as successful as some of the predecessors. But I would tell you what, like, it's still definitely a game you want to put out. You know, it still made a lot of money. It's just, it was so expensive. It kind of blew people's minds. They're like, wait, it was 15-20 hours long and it cost $300 million to make. What? But that's the nature of the beast, dude. That's the nature of the beast, you know?
Almost there.
The mouse made money. Oh yeah, I think they get, I forget the exact numbers, but they make like 30% or something, 20-30% or something on every copy sold. Like the mouse was making money. The mouse was doing okay.
How you holding up? Miles? Principal Evans called. Man, am I getting expelled?
Sucker Punch! I wonder what
Sucker
they're
Punch
working
is
on.
following up 2020's Ghost of Tsushima with Ghost of Yotei, scheduled for an October 2nd, 2025 release. As showcased in a recent State of Play stream, the standalone sequel takes us to Hokkaido on a revenge quest to deal with the Yotei 6, the murderers of protagonist Atsu's family. With a non-linear quest structure and more varied arsenal, it's looking set to be a true evolution of Tsushima's open world foundations.
Oh, baby. I like how they're just like, yep, that's it. It's because got everything you need to know. Yay, AC Shadows. How dare you? Yeah, I'm excited for Ghost of Yotei. It's going to be interesting. Bring it on. Gorilla, it's time. Spoiler, Horizon, and Horizon 2.
Gorilla followed up 2022's Horizon Forbidden West with the Burning Shores DLC 1 year later, as it continued to build out Aloy's story. With the West Coast set sequel ending on a cliffhanger, it's not a stretch to expect the Amsterdam-based studio to be working on the third part of the trilogy next. We wouldn't expect any news on that one soon, however. The development time between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West was 5 years, so we're likely a little while away from seeing Aloy and her metal dinosaur friends again. What were reportedly more like...
What you are seeing now is another masterclass in IGN nonsense. Enhance. What are we doing? I love the detail in blob, this blob. Look at the detail in that. You also notice how blown out the sand is? Not in the fun way either. I'm pretty sure this is because they're recording with HDR turned on, but they don't know what they're doing. So it converts it to SDR. And when it does that, it crunches the highlights down. And if you don't adjust the color scale properly, then it actually just blows out all of the whites. And sometimes the opposite can happen, and the blacks will also get blown out, which is also what's happening over here, where all the detail in the reeds is also lost, because they've also done that. Like, again, I'm a dude in a basement right now, okay? I'm in my basement talking about video games. I don't have 19 million subs. How am I able to do better than this? I shouldn't be able to, man. I should look at this and they should put me to shame. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, fam? And this is beside the point of like it being compressed out the ass. Like, the trees should not look like they were drawn onto the screen with crayon. Like, what is happening, dude? They never cease to amaze me. They never cease to amaze me. Gotta love IGN.
Likely to see first is a live service Horizon game that's currently in the works, starring a new cast of characters and a unique stylized look.
It is unique. Oh, it's gonna be a unique reaction. I'll tell you what. People are not ready for it. Like, that's the thing that I just want to brace people for, is that it is early. I mean, the footage that leaked was from a dev build in June of 2020. Okay. June of 2020. Things could have changed a lot since then, but typically the broad strokes are consistent. And the other piece is that this leaked years after that dev build. Okay. What I'm about to show you. So by the time the public saw it and reacted really negatively to it, it was well after that point, probably past the point of no return. So unless they independently chose to redo it and rework it, I just don't see this being different. Okay. Like, this is the vision for the new Horizon series. Like, I think if you are interested in Horizon for the art vibe, I think this is like an active turnoff, you know? It's Sea of Thieves, yeah. It looks like Sea of Thieves meets Fortnite meets Saints Row reboot. And I think it's like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I think people who like the vibe of Horizon are not going to respond well to that. Yeah, it looks derivative. don't like the change in art style. I know this is really, really, really early build, but I doubt they changed the art direction in the meantime. It just looks like Fortnite and Horizon's world. Indifferent in terms of the change. Really going after the Fortnite crowd, huh? Aroused and disappointed. Huh. Yeah, they've said stylized is what they've said repeatedly. Now all those hires of stylized artists who had art portfolios look kind of like Overwatch makes sense. Yep. Yeah, it looks more cartoony, indeed. Thank God they didn't stick with that mobile-ass art style for the characters. I think they did. But we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe they'll drop the trailer soon and we'll be blown away.
$9.99 through Super Chat. That's the new vision for Horizon? Are you sure we can't have Killzone?
No, you're going to get this and you're going to like it. No Killzone for you. No, this is what we get. I just, like, again, I think if you look at this and this is the kind of vibe you like in Horizon, I think that this, people who like this, what you see on screen, are going to see the trailer for the Horizon multiplayer game and be like, what the hell is this shit? Like, I think it's not going to go over too well. Maybe the Fortnite crowd loves it. You know, I don't know. Obviously, I think they had to change the art style a little bit because this was balanced and built for single player. When you go co-op, when you go multiplayer, you can't have this level of graphical fidelity. It just doesn't work. It's why every multiplayer game has to tone it down because you're trying to do a lot more stuff in the background besides just the single player component. But I just, yeah, man, it's if they come out and they lead this off with like with a trailer where they show, I don't even know, the chef is like named Big Mama and she's stirring the pot. It's like, howdy, would you like some Horizon stew? And they pass it and like, I gotta go make a payment on my student loans.
$10 through Super Chat.
It's gonna go over bad,
Are we
dude.
absolutely sure this isn't another Tencent ripoff?
This is why they're suing Tencent, because they're worried Tencent's game is going to cannibalize too much of this. Because again, this game they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, reportedly. So they can't afford this to be a flop. Like, they need this to do well.
Kane donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you guys.
OMG, that's the new Horizon? I swear I popped in and thought you were looking at that Horizon ripoff. Lol, how disappointing. Let's drop Horizon fans and get that Fortnite money.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, it starts to make sense why Herman might have thought that this was going to do well. It's like, hey, Fortnite has a similar style. Sea of Thieves has a similar style. Let's meld them together and put it in Horizon. Everybody loves Horizon, so it'll be a Star Wars level success, right? There's just, that's the level of complexity we're dealing with, it seems. You know, it's just baffling. But yeah, I really think this trailer, also the announcement trailer, is going to be crucial. Because again, if they lead this in with like the quirky, funny dialogue, trying to be so witty, and then people see those character designs, I swear to God, we will have another Concord on our hands. The immediate meltdown and mockery that will ensue will destroy any chance the game has of success. If I were consulting them, they don't even have to pay me for this advice, okay? Like, I've consulted on games where I've told the studio, like, do not market it this way. And like, you don't think that'd be funny? I was like, so you're thinking about doing that? It's like, no, stop it. It's literally happened. But they don't even have to pay me for this advice, okay? If you try to go quirky, silly, funny, you will be mocked. You will be teased. Okay. The art style starts people off already on a bad foot. You know, people will see it and be like, I'm not so sure, guys. This is a little too Fortnite-y for me. And if it leads in immediately with like, you know, hi, I'm Aloy McStuffins and I'm going to go submit my student loan payment. Boop. That's why I got to hunt dinosaurs, because hunting dinosaurs is a tough job, but it's one I can do. I can see the highlight reels now. Streamers react to disastrous Horizon announcement. I can see it now. People will lose their minds. It will be very funny. And I'm telling you, I will probably make a lot of money off of how terrible it is. Way more than they will. Because technically, you know, if they lose money, I just have to make $1 and I technically made more than they did. But I would like more good games. I don't want them to do that because that also means a lot of people will lose their jobs and it'll be a disaster. So please, be self-aware. Be aware of what the public will say. And don't do the thing that we all are expecting you to do. Okay? Like, Jesus Christ. It would be... oh man. Again, I hope they don't screw it up. But I'm so braced for this to be a dumpster fire if they frame it poorly. Because, I don't know. I've lost all confidence in their marketing teams. Like, they thought they marketed Concord well. And that, like, those people are the ones that are going to be marketing this. That's the thing to remember. Is the same corporate marketing team behind Concord less than a year ago will be in charge of this one. So, you know, I don't think they downsized that department that much, you know. Oh, how have I been surviving the end of the world? By working with my friends, kicking ass and taking names, wearing cool outfits, showing the cosmetics, and even emoting when appropriate. You can see it, can't you? You can see it in your mind's eye. That's why you're saying lol stop, because you know that is a little on the nose. It's like too real. Oh my God. Anyway, we'll stop beating the dead Horizon at this point. We'll stop. In your what? Yeah, your mind's eye. But let's continue on. We know Horizon is being worked on at Guerrilla in the live service, and the NCSoft game is also in production as well.
Perhaps this is something we can hope to see more of sooner rather than later, although this year maybe.
Dude, it's so washed out. What are we doing? This is blown out. This is blown out. This is blown out. All of this is blown out. IGN. What are we doing? You have tens upon tens of millions of dollars in funding. You have literally no excuse. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I swear to God, like a 12-year-old could render videos more competently. What are we doing? Chat, what are we doing? Chat, what is this? This is what their videos look like, okay? Let me see if I can even do this with the... No, I literally cannot screw up my video, my own face cam, as bad as their footage is screwed up. Even trying, I can't do it this wrong. It's unbelievable. Continuing.
Be a stretch, with Sony perhaps reassessing their live service future following the failure of Concord and the troubles facing Marathon.
Oh my God, I just had flashbacks to how slow all the tank archetypes walked in Concord. Dude, they walked so slowly. This is the sprint speed. Just watch it again. Watch Green Bubble Girl, watch her walk.
Their live service future following the failure of Concord and the troubles.
That's the full sprint speed. It was infuriating. You couldn't go anywhere. It was ridiculous.
Facing Marathon.
Housemarque.
Finnish developer Housemarque is following up 2021's Returnal with Saros, another sci-fi action game. Starring Rahul Kohli as Arjun Devraj, players will be taken to a lost off-world colony on the planet Carcosa in order to investigate its mysteries. An evolution of Returnal's roguelike rhythm, it's set to deliver Housemarque's trademark challenging shooter combat when it arrives on PS5 sometime in 2026.
Yeah, buddy.
Now, there are a number of PS5 console exclusives on the way that aren't from first-party PlayStation studios. Those include Bungie's Marathon, which has faced a turbulent few months this year due to...
Do they not count it as that? I guess it's independent. It's also not exclusive.
Now, there are...
PlayStation 5 exclusives from non-PlayStation Studios developers. It's also not exclusive, though. What do they mean?
Now, there are a number of PS5 console exclusives on the way that aren't from first-party PlayStation studios. Those include Bungie's Marathon, which has faced a turbulent few months this year due to development controversies surrounding allegedly plagiarized artwork and a less than warm reception to its closed alpha. As a result, the online shooter, once scheduled for a late 2025 launch, has been delayed indefinitely. One exclusive coming out very soon.
They just move on. Yeah, it's too bad because, you know, Bungie is a titan of the industry, legends, as it were. But The game is not ready for late 2025. Even before all the art stuff came out, like all of us who played the alpha were saying, guys, like it's just not ready. Like even before all that stuff, set aside the art stuff, just in terms of gameplay, it was not ready. It just wasn't. Like it had 3 maps that were pretty small. We only got to see 2. They said a 4th map would come in the months after launch. And they said the 2 things that were revolutionary about the game were the ranked mode and that 4th map. They couldn't show us the ranked map because they didn't want to spoil anything, and it came after launch. And the ranked mode, they said they hadn't built yet. Now, I feel like it's weird to say what's revolutionary about your game. This. What? There's nothing back there. No, it's gonna be back there. It's just not there yet. Well, then you can't claim it's revolutionary. If it's not there yet, you don't get to say it's like Luke, what's the coolest thing in your studio? That. The floor? No, the thing that's gonna be there in like 6 months. It's not there yet. That's not how that works, Luke. Like, I'm asking what's in the studio, like in this thing that you've built. What is the coolest thing? Yeah, the thing that's going to be there. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not how it works. You know? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, the Romeo P stain. Oh, Romeo. It just doesn't work. It just needs more time. I get the vibe that they definitely are being rushed, but anyway.
However, is Lost Soul aside. From Chinese studio Altizero Games. Hitting PS5s on August 29th, its development began way back in 2014, starting life as a solo development project before broadening out into a team effort. An action game inspired by classics of the genre such as Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, it certainly caught the eye in its most recent trailer. And then we have Phantom Blade Zero, another PS5 console exclusive that we'll highlight here. A semi-open world samurai bloodfest with Souls-like elements, it certainly doesn't look to be lacking in style.
I have played Phantom Blade Zero a decent chunk. And I can't go into detail on all of it, but I will say that it is a very impressive game. Like, and it's evolved as well. So what I played last year was pretty damn good, but maybe needed like a little bit of polish. This year, what's been shown off at S Game, this year what they have is like significantly more polished, significantly sharper, runs flawlessly from everything we've seen. The combat is super tight. The animations are ridiculous. There's a ton of different variability. So for example, in this fight, oh my God, it's so compressed. It's driving me crazy. I have because we're going to look at this later. So I'll pull this up in a separate tab. But this footage, you can see a little bit better. But they have all sorts of different weapons as well. Some weapons work better for different types of enemies. Some might allow you to juggle certain combos better. Some might break poise or basically their defense faster. Others might have more stun and interrupt their attacks. There's a ton of complexity here. And it's also like, it works more like a traditional action game than it does, you know, like a Soulsborne. I think people see this footage and they think it's going to play like a Soulsborne adjacent game, you know, basic R1, R2, and then L1 to parry. That is not at all what the game is. Like, it does not play like that at all. Not in a bad way, just very, very differently. They also have added a new crushing, like lethal, I think is what they call it, difficulty mode, which is absolutely outrageous and extremely challenging and requires like perfection. It's very cool. So this is one I'm very excited for. This is one to keep an eye on. I'm telling you what, it's gonna be really cool. It's genuinely very, very impressive. So keep an eye on Phantom Blade for sure. That's that could be a surprise pop off. It's really, really good. Really, really good. Yeah, the reason we bring up the Souls-like thing is because it's a very common thing that's brought up in the comments. I know some people who are familiar with Phantom Blade Zero, like, yeah, it's not a Soulsborne. Like, why do people keep saying that? The devs have to keep saying it because so many people think it is. Like, when I talked to the devs, like even last year and then even this year when I've talked to them, they're like, yeah, just, I mean, it's not a Souls-like. Just, you know, remember that when you play. I was like, I know, it's not. But a lot of people apparently on forums, a lot of people on their social media are asking if it plays like that, and it doesn't. So just trying to be very clear. Action equals Soulsborne to people these days. Yeah, I think so. I think people see swords and like, oh, so Soulsborne.
Exclusive that we'll highlight here. A semi-open world samurai bloodfest with Souls-like elements. It certainly doesn't look to be
Souls-like elements. This is part of the reason the confusion exists, but I think maybe he means in terms of difficulty, like it's hard. It's too bad that people think hard game, therefore Souls-like. It's like, there's a lot more to it than that, but
lacking in style. We can hope to see more of it later this year, but with no release date set as of yet, we won't expect to be playing it anytime soon.
Haven.
Originally due for release this year, Haven Studios' multiplayer shooter Fair Games is now expected in the spring of 2026. It's not been smooth sailing for another of Sony's planned live service offerings, with Jade Raymond, who only founded the studio in 2021, leaving the project earlier this year. Work is still ongoing on the online heist game though, with little to nothing seen of it since the 2023 cinematic trailer reveal. We're left waiting to see what its gameplay actually looks like.
Specifically what happened, if I recall the reporting correctly, was there were reports that there was a play test that happened and that the feedback from the play test was not very good. And in the days that followed that feedback, Jade Raymond left the studio. And Jade had founded it and was working on the game from the beginning. And I mean, it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together that it's not a good sign when there's a playtest, people are finally playing your game, the feedback comes back, and the founder, the head honcho, is booted out. And some of the verbiage was weird because PlayStation said, we informed staff, or the reporting said, PlayStation leadership informed staff of Jade's departure, or it was Haven leadership informed staff of Haven, or of Jade's departure from Haven at the, on Friday morning or Monday morning or something. Which you'd think if she was stepping down or retiring or moving to a different job, she would just have given notice and told people, hey, I'm going to leave in a week or two. Hearing that Monday morning came around and she was just not in the building, that sounds like a firing. That doesn't sound like we just decided to go our separate ways. That doesn't sound super friendly. Am I wrong? Am I weird? It doesn't sound fun. Anytime I've ever worked somewhere where somebody's leaving, they always give a notice and then you have some time to get hell, even at my gym, one of the trainers is leaving on Friday. And for a week and a half, she's been telling people I'm headed out. Come to my last class and, we can train together before I leave and all that. I get the vibe that she probably was booted out. I got to ask, what does Jade Raymond actually do? Genuinely want to know. Jade, at this point, I think her role was as a studio leader in an executive producer role, most likely. I don't think she was the game director or anything, but she was in charge of keeping the overall vision consistent. She was in charge of the budgets, the timeline. She's in charge of the business side of all of it. An important person in the pipeline for sure. Very, very high up. But also when you're that high up and you're one of the executives, it means the decisions to go in certain directions land on your shoulders. So if the feedback from that playtest, for example, if the feedback was something to the extent of maybe I'm trying to think what you could even say. Maybe the feedback came back and they were yeah, I just found it really cringy. I really hated a lot of the characters. I don't like the gameplay. They just have nothing nice to say. And all of those decisions, the vibe, the gameplay archetype and systems, all of that really goes back to Jade, who thought that all was a good idea. It's on her shoulders. It's her fault. Now, I don't know what firing her fixes. I don't know what solution that offers. Maybe it's dysfunctional. Maybe I don't know. But I don't see what that fixes. But maybe it's also that she just got a big fat check when the studio was founded and co-founded with Sony, and she just decided, okay, this is not going to go well. I'm out. And she just quit out of nowhere. Who knows? Maybe she just... Honestly, if I had worked on something for 5 years, we finally show it to the world after initially, a lot of work. It's received overwhelmingly negative in the case of this cinematic trailer. And then okay, we're going to work on it for a year or two. They work on it and then they do a play test to show it to players. This will convince them. And that comes back negative. At that point, I might go, I'm I am having a mental breakdown. I'm losing my mind and I might just leave. Like, who knows? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just genuinely depressing and it's like, I can't do this. You never know. I wouldn't blame anybody for that. If you got to protect your mental health by stepping away, that's what you got to do. I'd respect it.
Bend has been pretty much quiet since the release of Days Gone way back in 2019, aside from giving us a remaster a couple of months back. But in 2022, a few slivers of detail were revealed about what the Oregon studio was currently working on. It shared that its new game will build upon the open world systems of Days Gone, but won't be announced until the time is right. Apart from knowing it won't be a continuation of Deacon St. John's story, we really know nothing. And it's been a rocky year for the developer so far, with reports that a live service game it had been working on had been scrapped by Sony, as well as layoffs impacting 30% of the team as it transitions to its next project. Whether this new game the reduced headcount is working on has anything to do with those details revealed 3 years ago, or if the studio is starting again from scratch is unknown.
My understanding, and I think the common understanding, is that what was said 3 years ago was that the game they were working on, which ended up being the live service game, was building on the open world stuff of Days Gone. That live service game has been canceled and shut down, and they also fired a third of the studio that was no longer needed. Because if you're not gonna, like, if you hired a bunch of people that specialize in like networking code or something, you don't need them anymore. Or if all of your art department is tied to like an Overwatch mixed with anime style of artwork, be like, hey, our new game is going to be grounded photorealism, probably need a new art department, you know? So there's stuff like that that happens. But my understanding is that that project that they had previously discussed and that was mentioned is gone now, and they're starting over on something else. That's my understanding.
Either way, we wouldn't expect to hear anything soon. Media Molecule spent most of the past decade working on Dreams, the game creation and curation project that was released in 2020. But as a result of significant layoffs at the studio in 2024, live service for the game has now ended, with MM's current aim being to ensure Dreams transitions into a self-sustaining platform. There has since been no news on what the developer's next project will be. Team Asobi gave us one of 2024's biggest games with the charmingly creative...
Not biggest. I think it only sold 1 million copies, but I get what you mean. It was like it was well beloved by journalists and industry guys. I thought it was good. I'm just not huge into platformers, so I'm like, yeah, it's good. But 2 million? I think last I saw it was like through 2024, it was like 1.2, 1.3 or something. But yeah, it might be 2 million now. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. I don't know if I call it the biggest game or one of the biggest, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Platformer
I'm being
Astro Bot.
pedantic.
An ode to PlayStation history, it won many awards and cemented itself as one of the PS5's very best offerings. Since then, the Japanese studio has continued to support it with regular updates and levels as recently as this summer. But what next? Well, we wouldn't be surprised to see another Astro game on the way, given the critical and commercial success of last year's hit. There's certainly no shortage of obscure PlayStation characters left to sprinkle through more of those colourful levels.
I want something new from them. I want something different. Like even Astro Bot felt, I don't know. It was very familiar if you played the included demo that came with the PS5. Like it felt very familiar because it was just more of that, just ramped up. So I'd like something totally fresh. I think if they did another one, I'd be like totally burnt out on it, but who knows? We'll see. Bluepoint.
Following the success of both the Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remakes, Sony acquired Bluepoint Games as a first-party studio in 2021. We don't know what its first project since joining the PlayStation Studios family is though, but we do know that the developer has expressed its desire to create an original game, rather than reimagining another classic. Perhaps we could see a reveal soon, but seeing as Sony confirmed that a live service game, which was reportedly set in the God of War universe, was cancelled at the studio earlier this year, it seems unlikely.
Again, I cannot imagine how moronic we must be to say we have the industry leading re-envisioning studio. Like, you can give them pretty much anything and they will reimagine it for modern audiences in a way that connects with people, is graphically stunning, amazingly well executed, whether it's Shadow of the Colossus or Demon's Souls, whatever. You're like, okay, let's have them work on a God of War extraction shooter. Like, it's so insane to me. You're like, live service game with God of War. Yeah, why not? It's so unbelievably dumb. I cannot fathom it. It makes me wonder if there's, again, like a big piece of it we're missing. Maybe it's like, oh, that God of War live service game was going to be like a small mobile game and it was being run by 5 people and they shut that down. But the real game they're working on is like Bloodborne remake or something. I don't know. I just, it's such a bungling of that talent. It seems insane to me to just have them working on something that dumb. But Jim Ryan, folks, Jim Ryan. Wow, a dev making their games self-sustainable by the players. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. I hope they do and pull that off. That'd be super cool.
Polyphony has been making Gran Turismo for 25 years now, so it would certainly be a shock to see it veer from that path in the near future. GT7 came out around 3.5 years ago now, meaning maybe the time is approaching for the reveal of the studio's next racing sim. Similarly, San Diego is well established as the MLB The Show studio. This year's entry only dropped in March, so we can expect to see another next spring if history is anything to go by.
Fire Sprite.
Firesprite most recently developed Horizon Call of the Mountain for PSVR 2, following the studio's newfound focus on VR games. What's next is anyone's guess, however. A new virtual reality game would be the educated guess, but given Sony's lack of commitment to creating games for its second generation headset, it certainly wouldn't be a surprise to see the UK studio pivot to something more traditional. Recent reports discussing layoffs and unrest at the developer suggested that Firesprite was working on a live service Twisted Metal game, which has since been cancelled. It's currently believed that the studio is now working on a new game called Project Heartbreak. Details are thin on what this is though, and so we have no idea of when we can expect to see it.
It's a lot of that at PlayStation. A lot of layoffs, a lot of stuff. That's just how it is.
Formed earlier this year as part of PlayStation Studios, Team LFG was spun out of Bungie to create a new team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. As to what a frog-type game is, your guess is as good as ours, but the project has been described as letting players inhabit a light-hearted, comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe.
Of course. Of course. Just take that in again. Take that in again.
Guess is as good as ours, but the project has been described as letting
ready?
Players inhabit a light-hearted, comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe.
Lighthearted, comedic, mythic science universe world. Dude, I hope it's good. But I swear to God, sometimes I hear these pitches and I'm like, are they trying to just do the same things over and over and over again? Like, it literally is the definition of insanity. It really is baffling to me. It really is. But I hope that, they're onto something. I hope they're onto something. But again, the other piece to remember is if we currently feel kind of on this right now, we don't see it for like 5 years, 6 years. So in the middle of next generation or early next gen, how will that be received? Like that's where you get tricky. I don't know. Maybe by this early next generation, maybe people are going to be craving like more casual, lighthearted fun and like silly, wacky, quirky characters. Maybe that'll be big at that point. Maybe. I don't know if I'd bet hundreds of millions of dollars on it, but maybe they're way ahead of us. Maybe they know something we don't.
So we aren't expecting to hear more anytime soon. Another new PlayStation studio for 2025, Dark Outlaw Games, is led by Call of Duty veteran Jason Blundell. Very little else is known about this team or what they're working on though. And that is everything we know about upcoming first-party PlayStation games. And the truth is, very few release dates look to be coming up quickly. Of course, this can and will likely change soon. And with GTA 6 looming on the horizon in 2026, it does make sense that many publishers are waiting for Rockstar to unleash their powerhouse before they make their own moves. That said, it doesn't prevent 2025 from still looking relatively empty when it comes to PS5 exclusives. Let's hope that the outlook will look a lot brighter soon, not only for players waiting for new games to play, but for the developers who work so hard to deliver them to us. For more on PlayStation, check out our review of Death Stranding 2 and our most recent video on Ghost of Yotei.
Dude, hearing the recaps, there's like a couple bright spots, like Naughty Dog's working on something secret and fun. Santa Monica's working on something secret and fun. You know, Insomniac probably has something cool up their sleeves. But hearing all these other studios, it's like, yep, canceled, delayed, canceled, rebooted as a live service. It gets so frustrating and disappointing and depressing, you know? I don't know, man. I don't know. But this is why, you know, we all joke that like executives don't do anything at the company. We all joke about that because it's like, oh, they sit in their office all day and do nothing but get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. But you can see what happens when you have a bad executive, you know? Like you can see what happens when you have a Jim Ryan who is committed to nonsense for 5-6 years and he just totally craps the bed, in my opinion, and takes the company in the totally wrong direction. So, you know, maybe, I don't know if it's that it's better to have an incompetent leader versus like a leader that is intentionally doing something that is bad. Like that's obviously worse. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It really is crazy. But that's what PlayStation's working on right now. That's what they're working on right now. I personally don't think we'll see too much stuff blowing our minds before the end of the year. I think, you know, next year we should have a couple things. Saros. We probably have at least one of the Horizon live service games coming out next year. And I think we also will have Marathon early next year as well. I think Fair Games will either get canceled or it'll release next year. I don't think they're going to drag that on too much longer. So I think next year they'll start to really, you know, pump some stuff out. Wolverine, I think, is probably still like 2 years away. I think that doesn't come out till at least 2026, 2027, something like that. Yotei, I mean, that goes without saying. I think that'll be good, but I think, you know, that's already known. I think my main point is I don't think we have any huge surprises. There were rumors, of course, of the God of War spin-off game still coming out this year. Now it sounds like it's like a 2.5D sort of Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown like game going through Kratos's early years. So there's rumors of that, but that sounds like it might also have been pushed to next year. It's tricky. It's tricky to figure out exactly what it is. But yeah, Yotei I think will be good. It's just, I think that's the only thing they really have. He took my thing.